Well, this week on our 5 and 11 o'clock news, we've been taking you back to Vietnam, showing you veterans of that war returning to Vietnam to help out there. One returning veteran that we haven't heard from yet is News 8 senior photographer Ben Cutshall. Ben served in Vietnam for a year in 1968, and he was the photographer on the series that Greg Hurst has been presenting this week. But Ben also has some very personal memories of Vietnam and some things that were jarred, I guess, a bit, Ben, by going back there.
Hell, even in 1968 when I was over there, I thought, boy, if I ever get out of this alive, I want to come back and see the country. It's a beautiful country. Fantastic. When I had the opportunity to go, I got out some of the old slides and looked them over, and the memories came back. But one of the things that really triggered my memories was the music of 1968, the songs I heard back then.
Give me a ticket for an aeroplane.
Flying into Vietnam, I think that it'll be just as easy to touch the past as it is to pull old records off the shelf. I think the sights and feelings of the past will be as vivid as the sounds of '68. I'm in for several surprises. Tan Son Nhut Airport. No trace of the dozens of buildings that circle the field. Built by Americans, they were carted off as raw materials for new projects. You might say liberated during liberation. Some of the larger hangars that sheltered our planes remain. Bunkers and revetments have vanished. In the terminal, An Nguyen helps me make a phone call. She asks if I've been here before. I tell her yes, 21 years ago, the Army. She says, "Oh, you a criminal." I ask if that's what they teach in school now. She replies, "I think so." We drive up Highway 13. It was Thunder Road to the 1st Infantry Division back then. Ly K, headquarters for our old medical company. It hasn't changed a bit. I slept in the old French hospital for a few days when our company moved here.
I have goosebumps right now. It's a very eerie feeling.
Later, I moved out into a tent in the field over there. This was home for 2 months. It looks great, and I imagine the Quan Loy, where I had a tent in the rubber trees for 10 months, will look something like this. Wrong again. The VC took over the base, made it their headquarters for all of the South. Our planes bombed it to oblivion. The old officers' club, a beautiful French home. Rubble now. The trees show where it stood. The rubber trees themselves have been leveled. Charred bits of wood mark the bunker where I worked, coordinating the evacuation of wounded soldiers. The airstrip, once bustling with planes and Hueys, is now home to American grass and giant bomb craters. Quan Loy is ripe with unexploded mortars, bombs, and rockets. This man lives in a tent, digging up old bombs. The American artillery rounds of 1968 are his bread and butter today. This man did the same thing until the bomb he was cutting with a hacksaw exploded. The children who worked at the base now have kids of their own. They go to school here. Artillery and mortar fire in 1972 ripped it up, but didn't close it down. Her father is an American who worked at Quan Loy a year before I did. Seeing Americans brings memories and tears. Tears for the father she never knew and the hard times she had. A former Viet Cong sheds tears for a friend who died here. He will offer his hand, saying, "Let's be friends in peace." And this ex-GI found that to be the sentiment of most people I met. The Vietnamese like Americans. They want to be friends. The past is gone. I can reach out and touch it. And yet the past reaches out to me to say, "Let there be peace."
Wow. It's interesting that you say the Vietnamese like Americans, and yet that woman heard you were a soldier and said, "Oh, you're a criminal."
That hurt, but I think they don't believe everything they're taught in school, and they remember the kindness that showed them by the GIs when the GIs were over there. They remember the medical clinics where we went out and treated the people and helped the people, and a lot of them have family and friends in the United States now, and they know what Americans are really like, and they do like Americans.
Could you believe the changes? Were you just overwhelmed that things that you had remembered weren't there anymore?
It was a mind-numbing experience.
I imagine, Ben. Thanks for sharing with us.